Hey guys, coming back at you with another UFC Fight Night predictions and breakdown video. So this is going to be for UFC Fight Night Overeem versus Harris. This is supposed to happen on May 16th. So you guys should be seeing this video a day before the fights. Give you a little bit of something to kind of mull over in your heads, and especially for those that maybe don't know or understand the kind of magnitude of the fights that we have on that card. This will get you a little bit pumped up for it because there are some really good fights, and who can't beat a free fight night on ESPN Plus from the UFC. So let's dive in right away. I'm solo for this one as well. Normally I got my man Spencer here, but we're going to fly solo today, so don't mind me, guys. I'm going to be looking at my notes a little bit. So the first fight of the night that we have on the card is going to be two Dana White Contender Series alums, Nascimento and Mays. So this one's a little bit harder to say, a little bit more of an unknown. Both big heavyweights. I'm gonna have to go with. Let me just take a peek at their recent fights. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Nascimento. He's 7-0. He's undefeated, and he's facing Mays. Mays has a couple losses. Again, don't know a ton about these guys. They're still pretty new to their UFC career. And Mays is coming off a submission loss in his last fight. So I'm going to give the edge here to Nascimento. I'm going to predict round 2 or round 3 submission. So then the next fight what we got, guys, is a women's fight. We always got to love the women's fights. They always come to scrap. Courtney Casey versus Romero Barrella. I'm going to butcher a lot of these names in this card, guys, so I apologize in advance. Courtney Casey, her record 8-7 is a little deceiving. She's fought a lot of the good straw weights in her division. Trains out of, I believe, the MMA lab, if I'm not mistaken, in Phoenix, Arizona, or might be Tucson. I'm not sure. I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't know too much about her opponent, Barella. I'm gonna go with Courtney Casey in this one. She's really scrappy. Again, not really knowing too much about her opponent. I'm gonna go with Courtney Casey, probably unanimous decision. Like I said, very scrappy. Courtney Casey also actually has a win over Angela Hill, who is fighting as the co-main event of the night, actually. So fun little fact there. But yeah, I'm going to go with Courtney Casey, unanimous decision. Now, next fight we got, this should be a good one. Possible barn burner here is Darren Elkins, the Damage. Who doesn't love Darren Elkins? Always brings it, versus, I believe this guy's named Nick Landry. Landry's a little bit new to the UFC, so I mean Darren Elkins going to have a ton of experience advantage over him. Landry's only 13-3. Darren Elkins 25-8. He's got a lot of fights, man. A lot of fights against a lot of top talent. Landry, he came out in his UFC debut, I believe December, maybe. I'd have to double check, but not that long ago. He lost to Gilbert Burns' brother, Herbert Burns. I believe it was both of their UFC debuts. He got subbed in the first round, or I'm sorry, KO'd. Showed a lot of good talent, though, and a lot of promise. Good pressure. Herbert Burns, being the brother of Gilbert Burns, they're both jiu-jitsu studs. He weathered a tight submission from Herbert Burns in the first round. I honestly was super impressed with the fact that he got out of that. Showed a lot of grit and a lot of determination. But that is a tough matchup. Your second UFC fight, especially not obviously coming away with the win in your first one. So I'm gonna have to go with Darren Elkins on this one. I'm gonna go with unanimous decision as well, though, 2 in a row here. Yeah, I just think the Damage is gonna be a little bit too experienced, a little bit too much, and that should be a really good fight, though. Both guys really come to scrap. Next one that we got here, guys. I am super excited about this one. I tried looking up to double check to make sure, because I thought, so it's Mike Davis versus Giga Chikadze. Again, I'm going to butcher a lot of these names. I thought Giga was supposed to fight somebody else, not Mike Davis, so I had no clue it was Mike Davis on this card. Mike Davis, if you guys don't know, made his UFC debut, I believe, on 1 or 2 week notice. He fought Gilbert Burns at lightweight. Mike Davis is actually a featherweight. That was a good fight, though. He fought Gilbert Burns, who is now probably, I believe, in the top 10 at welterweight. Gilbert Burns is a multiple-time world champion, to my knowledge, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I know he's a very high-level black belt. I just don't remember. I can't recall how many titles that he's won necessarily. But yeah, Mike Davis came in on a short notice. I believe he lost that fight by submission, round 2 or 3, something like that. May have got. I don't remember. I know he got finished for sure. But man, he has had quite the showings in his last fight. He fought Thomas Gifford. Let me just double check this record here, guys. This is one that you really should watch out for. Yeah, he lost by submission to Gilbert Burns in the second round. Then he got a nasty KO over Thomas Gifford, his last fight. Even in his fight with Gilbert Burns, showed a ton of good boxing skills. His head movement, his boxing, his power. The guy is a very good striker and quite talented on the ground as well. I think the guy is super well-rounded. He's somebody to watch out for in the UFC, I'm telling you. Versus Giga Chikadze. So Giga actually comes from a definite striking background. I believe he was a Glory kickboxer. If you guys don't know, Glory is considered like the UFC of kickboxing. You know, they're on, I think they're on ESPN as well. So if you want to watch some kickboxing, check out Glory. Shout out to Glory Kickboxing. Giga, more of a point fighter. You look at his record, he does have a couple submissions, but if you look at them, they're on promotions that most of you probably never heard of, probably against lower tier talent because as compared to the UFC. In the UFC, he's had 2 fights, and both of them are split decision wins. So I remember watching his fight. He actually just fought recently in March. More of a point fighting style, but very exciting, very skilled on the feet. This is kind of, I don't really think this is going to go to the ground. I think this is going to be a striking matchup. I'm going to give the edge to Mike Davis. I think he's a bit more well-rounded, and I think the boxing prowess of his skill set is going to give Giga some problems, but Giga is quite the kicker. I mean, also has good boxing as well, so don't let me discount that. But yeah, I'm going to go with Mike Davis. That is a tough one to predict as far as a finish goes. I'm just going to go with Mike Davis. I'm not going to call a finish for this one. That is too hard to call. And again, it could go either way. All right, moving on. Next one, we got Anthony Hernandez versus Kevin Holland. So interesting facts about this, guys. I got quite a few interesting facts about a lot of fighters on these cards. Anthony Hernandez is a former LFA champion. He actually beat one of our teammates, Brendan Allen, who's now in the UFC, making a splash in the middleweight division. That guy is a stud. That fight that he won against Brendan Allen in LFA was actually to win the title. Brendan just didn't look himself, and to be honest, I think those guys square up in the UFC again, which I would love. I think Brendan handles him pretty... Again, I hate to discredit people, but I think Brendan, finishes him for sure. And then another interesting statistic here, in fact, is that Brendan Allen just beat Kevin Holland in Kevin Holland's last fight. So I shouldn't say just beat him, but that was Kevin Holland's last outing, was a stoppage loss to Brendan Allen. So Kevin Holland, has quite many more fights, 16-5. Anthony Hernandez, very young in the sport, 7-1. Anthony Hernandez, though, is very well-rounded, very scrappy. Kevin Holland, very durable, but gives up a ton of position on the ground. But it is quite hard in most of his fights, as you can see. It's quite hard to pin that guy down and just kind of walk all over him, which was why it was impressive that Brendan Allen handled him like he did. I'm going to have to go, honestly, probably with Anthony Hernandez. I think he's a bit more polished. So I'm going to call Anthony Hernandez TKO, second round, third round. Yeah, just Kevin Holland. Also, too, before losing to Brendan Allen, maybe 2 fights before that, he fought our other Riversport teammate, Gerald Mearshart, who's, shout out Gerald Mearshart's fighting June 6th against Ian Heinisch. That's a sick fight. Kevin Holland kind of got gifted a split decision win over Gerald. Try not to be biased, but he really did. So yeah, I'm going to go with Anthony Hernandez, probably a finish, TKO, I think, second or third round. Now, last fight we got on the prelims, guys. This is how you know it's a pretty good card for a fight night, free fight night. Matt Brown is on the prelims. Matt Brown, if you guys don't know who Matt Brown is, just go educate yourself. Matt Brown, UFC highlights. Man, that guy is a savage. Oh my goodness. That dude has some crazy fights against some of the best people in the division. Fighting Michael Basil, I think. Let me just double check that. Again, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm Miguel Basil. Beza. Say Miguel Beza. This is Miguel's second outing in the UFC. He did have a KO in his last fight. I just think, I mean, he's 8-0, so obviously the guy is doing something right. I just think the experience level of Matt Brown. Matt Brown literally has 40 professional fights compared to Miguel's 8. I'm gonna have to go with Matt Brown. Honestly, I'm gonna call KO, TKO, first or second round. Matt Brown has been kind of revitalized in his training, as far as I can tell, and from what he's kind of said on social media. So catch that fight, guys. The prelims are stacked, so let's move right on to the main card. First one we have is Yadong versus Vera, Chito Vera. So Song Yadong versus Chito Vera. That is a sick fight. That fight could be on any pay-per-view on any main card, and you would not be disappointed at all. These guys come to fight and come to bang. Song Yadong has got quite the power in his hands. He's kind of something of a prospect in that bantamweight division right now, especially coming out of he's from China. So, yeah, training out of Team Alpha Male as well. This guy is kind of placed as somebody who's got some serious talent, going to be possibly a contender if he keeps it up. Yeah, I mean, he's got quite a few fights in the UFC already. And just kind of a stud, man. Chito Vera, though, man, that guy is scrappy. He's got skills everywhere. I believe Chito Vera, and again, I'm just double checking all these so I don't mix them up. Chito Vera is riding a 5-fight finish streak. So I believe Song Yadong as well hasn't lost in his last 5 or 6 fights. So that should tell you all that you need to know, is that these guys are finishers. Chito Vera definitely has, I believe, more finishes than Song Yadong, but 100% I think this fight is not going to go the distance. I'm going to predict Song Yadong KO. Hard to say around, to be honest with you. I'm just going to predict Song Yadong by KO. That will be a sick fight. Next one is Eric Anders versus Krzysztof Jotko. So again, no disrespect to Eric Anders, but his last fight, again, kind of got gifted a split decision win over our guy, Gerald Meerschaert. So Gerald Meerschaert's kind of fought a lot of these middleweights on here. Yeah, Eric Anders, though, man, super experienced and good fighter for only having, under 20 pro fights. But, man, that guy shows a lot of poise whenever he fights. Does have one-punch knockout power. You'll see his style is very weight, patient, looking for that big strike. Not a ton of volume off of him. Versus Krzysztof Jotko, who, again, I mean, honestly, is a very skilled dude in the middleweight division. Coming off, a submission, or I'm sorry, 2 decision victories in his last fight. So Eric Anders, again, too, has a lot of decisions as well. But man, that guy can put people away. I'm gonna have to go with ya boy, because that is his nickname. Eric Anders. I'm probably gonna predict split decision win, to be completely honest with you. And again, no disrespect to Eric Anders. That dude is a savage, and he is a great fighter. So is Krzysztof Jotko. But just looking at their previous fights, they're kind of the streak that they're both on. I'd say Eric Anders by split decision, unanimous decision. All right, next one. Dan Ige versus Edson Barboza. Whew. That's an interesting fight. So for those that don't know, this is going to be Edson Barboza's move down to featherweight. To my knowledge, I don't believe he's ever fought at featherweight before. I could be wrong, but for sure in the UFC, this is his featherweight debut. Yeah, interesting. Dan Ige riding a impressive streak. Dan Ige has a unanimous decision win over our guy Jordan Griffin, another UFC featherweight and UFC fighter out of Rufus Sport. Shout out to Jordan Griffin. But yeah, man, Dan Ige is riding a 5-fight win streak. Only 3 of those are by decision. And he's been definitely stepping it up as far as competition. He fought Jordan Griffin, who was a tough fight. Fought Mirsad Bektik in his last fight. Fought Kevin Aguilar before that. Decision wins over them. Edson Barboza, though, the problem here is that my heart would say normally Edson Barboza, I would say, he's 10-8. He has fought some of the who's who at lightweight. He's fought Anthony Pettis, Paul Felder twice, Tony Ferguson, Khabib. He's fought Khabib. He's fought Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker. I mean, literally the list goes on and on and on. Problem is Edson Barboza right now in his last 5 fights is 1-4. So, yeah, and that one victory, I believe, was by decision. So, yeah, his last fight had a split decision loss to our man Paul Felder. I'm getting to shout out a lot of our Rufus Sport teammates in this video. But and then before that, he ended up getting KO'd by Justin Gaethje in the first round. So this move down to featherweight's a little weird. I'm assuming maybe he just feels like he can make the cut. But man, that guy is super lean already. I don't know how that's going to perform for him. Or, I'm sorry, play out for him. I really feel like that's going to hamper his performance. The guy does not look like he makes lightweight easy. Although he's not like the biggest lightweight we've seen, but man, that dude is lean. That is tough to cut that much weight. Dan Ige is comfortable at featherweight. That dude is super scrappy and trains with some of the best people in the business. Khabib, to mention one of them. And he's sporting, like I said, a 5-fight win streak. That's just what I can see here on the ESPN.com. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Dan Ige. Honestly, if this was at lightweight, I'd go with Edson, to be completely honest with you. But I'm going to go with Dan Ige. The guy is super skilled. I believe he's a black belt on the ground for jiu-jitsu. I'm going to probably predict submission. I'm going to say round 2 or 3. So that will be potentially an awesome fight. Then we're moving on to the co-main event, guys. It is Claudia Gadelha versus Angela Hill. Again, I butchered that name for Claudia. I'm so sorry. Love both of these chicks, man. They are scrappers. Claudia has so much experience, you know, coached on the Ultimate Fighter season against Joanna, fought Joanna, I believe twice, could be wrong there. Angela Hill as well, though, is very experienced too. 12-7, Claudia 17-4. You know, Claudia got a little bit of a better record, but Angela Hill has fought some of the best. Was on the Ultimate Fighter season 20, I want to say. Could be wrong there, but if I'm correct, that's Team Pettis versus Team Melendez. So, again, shout out to our Rufus Sport fam. This is a tough one. I think this would be a pretty scrappy fight, but I'm going to say it goes decision. Angela Hill really impresses me because she, I believe, I don't know if it was, I think it was early last year in the first and second quarters of 2019. She took a ton of short notice fights. It could be all throughout 2019 that I don't remember, but and she was doing well in all these fights she's taken on short notice. That really makes you feel comfortable when you're in there that often. Claudia is just super skilled as well, though. I mean, she's very good on the ground, good on the feet. I mean, really, just well-rounded. So, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Claudia Gadelha, unanimous decision. All right, so now we got our last one here, guys, the main event. Alistair Overeem versus Walt Harris. That's a good fight. I think the obvious things that we want to talk about here is just, where is Walt Harris in his mentally? I mean, to be honest, I think he's going to come out like a bat out of hell, man. And I think he's extremely, I don't want the right word, maybe a newfound, again, it's so hard to say, newfound focus, determination, I'm not sure, but what that man's gone through in the last year, in the last, 6-8 months, is truly tragic. And I think everybody in the MMA community and anybody in the world that heard his story, can definitely, your thoughts and prayers are out with that guy. Your heart goes out to him. I can get a little choked up just thinking about it. But Alistair Overeem is what a force and what a legend in the heavyweight division. Personally, one of my favorites in the heavyweight division is Alistair Overeem. That dude has been there, done it all. Fought the who's who. Won almost every single important title except for the UFC title. But he's coming off a KO loss to Rosenstruck, who just got KO'd himself. But Alistair was winning pretty much that entire fight from what I was told. I watched a bit of it. I didn't finish the whole thing. I've definitely watched the KO. It was literally at the last second of the 5-round main event fight. Walt Harris, though, he's sporting a win streak himself. This is a tough one to call, man. Heavyweights are just so hit and miss. One guy can be so skilled over the other, but it just takes one to land and boom, lights out. Man, I'm going to go, I love Alistair Overeem. I love Walt Harris, what the dude's been through. And even before that, I always thought he was a very good fighter, making his way up the division. Um, yeah, oh my goodness, this is so tough for me, guys. I'm gonna go with Alistair Overeem. Probably KO. I'm gonna go with Alistair Overeem KO. It is a main event, so we got 5 rounds, so that's fun. I'm gonna go with Alistair KO, third or fourth round. So that's where I'm at on those predictions, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and hopefully you guys took away something from a little bit of the knowledge that I gave you, in case you weren't familiar with some of these fighters and their fights. Yeah, like I said, guys, tons of good fights on this Freak Fight Night on ESPN Plus. Do not miss it. And one more thing I wanted to shout out quick. I forgot to mention about Darren Elkins. Actually, way back in the day, fought our Professor Daniel Vanderlei. So cool little fact there for you guys. So yeah, guys, enjoy the fights. Support the UFC. It's awesome what they're doing, putting the fights on for us fight fans all over the world. And man, I can't wait for this card. It's going to be a good one. The fights are free on ESPN Plus. Dude, it's $10 a month. Just get an account. If you don't have an account, ask somebody you know. Watch these fights. I don't care. So yeah, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll be back for the next fight card. And yeah, have a great one, guys.